Hello. Good Wednesday morning. How was everyone? All right. So today we're talking about authenticity, which is fucking hilarious because I totally am so off my routine right now that I forgot that it was Wednesday. Which is hilarious because the message is talking about being true to yourself. And I can admit when, um, I screwed up. um, it's funny because, not only did we have a day where when I was on the cruise where I accidentally did the live on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday, but, today I'm okay, so we're off our routine anyways because there's people here doing foundation work on our house. So, we've had to have foundation work done in the past because we have some draining issues and there's like a neighbor behind us that likes to drain their pool and it just like runs right up alongside of our house. And so we've had like the I don't know what they're called, but like they drill these like big, huge poles down into the ground around the perimeter of the house, and they raise up the sides that are kind of sinking. Well, we have like a two-story all brick house, so it's like super heavy. And so we've had a lot of, and I'm going to silence this because they're outside working, and my doorbell and my driveway camera keep going off because of motion. That being said, um, they had drilled and done the piers. That's what they're called. The piers around three sides of the house. Well, the house decided that it was going to start sinking in the center of the house, so now they're inside drilling piers, which is like I think like they ended up doing 14 piers, which is fucking fantastic as it is. But our beautiful tile floors that look like wood are getting kind of, ooh, it's creaking a lot. It's getting torn up a bit, and the tiles, which this part sucks, but like the tiles that we had before, because of all the tariffs and stuff, it was sourced out of Mexico, and now Mexico won't sell to the U.S. anymore for those specific tiles. So it's like we have to um, either. Granted, we're by Mexico. Maybe we drive down to Mexico and go get the stupid tiles, or um, we find the closest match, or there's a place out in California that is on the border, and they've been sourcing the tiles for people. So we'll see what happens, but it's a whole thing, and like this is necessary, of course. For the safety of the house, but also because we're planning to sell and move to North Carolina this summer. So it's like we're ramping up and getting all these things done. So, anyways, that being said, that's a long explanation about what's going on in the world of me. But there's a lot of noise, and I'm not allowed to go downstairs essentially, and everything's blocked off, and I can't get in my fridge or get into my cabinets to get my silverware and like plates and stuff. So it's like even my nutrition is kind of off balance here. So it's a whole thing. So that being said, we're talking about authenticity this week, and um, it's funny because it's like and it just now is not noisy right now, but I think they're jacking up the house because the house is like creaking a bunch, but they're not drilling right now, so it's kind of nice, and you may hear some noise pop up. But that being said, authenticity is something that actually comes up quite a bit, both with my clients and with me. Like it's a term that's kind of thrown around. I would say it has kind of lost its meaning because, everybody is saying, like, I just want to be authentic, and like it's a desire. Yeah, it's a desire. You want to be authentic. You want to be true to yourself. You want to show yourself without the mask and without the, you know, the deep down inner you that can shine their light without feeling like they're going to be judged or worrying about, what other people think. And it is not something that is easy. It's not a switch that you can just, flip on real quick. So what does authenticity actually really mean? Like for me, authenticity wasn't about speaking my truth right away. And I did talk about this like kind of in the breath codes. Like I kind of went outside of my comfort zone so bad, so much when I was in middle school. By getting on stage when I didn't feel comfortable and like screwing up on stage and it caused me to retract so much that I developed a stutter that carried on into my adult life. And I always had that, um, feeling like an imposter, feeling like I didn't know enough, feeling like I was stupid. And so, with the stutter, like that kind of exacerbated things. And so I stayed in the background. I was very much like a wallflower. I didn't really speak a lot. I didn't, have my opinions be shared. Like I wanted to be accepted and belong and like, go in with the crowd and, uh, uh, I was the peacekeeper, I was the people pleaser, and so like I didn't like go against the grain. I was not big about going against the grain. So for me, it wasn't about speaking my truth right away. Like I had to build up with it, for it. I had to gain courage and confidence, and like even getting on like Facebook Lives was a task in and of itself at first because like I again didn't feel like I knew everything yet. I needed to know all the things and have all the certifications in order to prove my worth. Like it started with really realizing not how much you know authenticity I had at the moment, but realizing how many times I felt like I didn't have it. And so um, it, it does not only show up in how you present yourself on the outside and to others, but it's also how you present yourself to you, how you are able to keep your word to yourself. And I was very, you know, very big and did this a lot, but like it's like I would keep my word to, like my promises and my word to everybody else. But when it came to me, like I would slip up. I wasn't keeping my word to myself. And so, like this might have come in the form of like getting into relationships that I knew better, right? Like I knew better. I saw the red flags and I was like, well, maybe this one's different, right? Like, or, like it came in with like food and workouts and, what else? Like, off time, having rest, downtime, right? Like, taking reprieves. And so, um, like if somebody else asked for something, if somebody else asked for help, like they needed help moving, I would go help them, right? Like because I had this desire to be, needed and liked, and we'll talk a little bit about shadows. I think next week we'll talk about shadows, but like I had the need to be liked, to no, there goes the you might not even be able to hear it, but there goes the stuff. They're gonna be loud. But like I didn't have boundaries. Somebody asked something of me and I of course, help them, do things for them. If a coworker was overwhelmed, like I would step in or overwork, come in early, stay late. Or if, somebody didn't show up to a call, like a client, you know, I would sit there and wait and then be like, yes, of course, like we can reschedule. So like like all of these things, like my tank is flashing like empty, but I was still overgiving of myself. So when it came to keeping the promises to me, talking the walk, honoring rest, saying no, like suddenly I always had a reason why, I wasn't going to put myself first. Like, I'll do it tomorrow. It's fine. It's not that important. Um, and that might not sound dramatic, but like in the long run, it is a slow self betrayal. Like, we're teaching our nervous systems that our needs are optional and that everybody else is more important than us. So for me, it got loud when my body was finally saying no more. Like, this is when like I had the anxiety and the panic attacks coming out in healthcare. And, I remember this one time where I was, working full time in healthcare, two jobs, building a business, managing the household. And, one night it's just like, I fucking can't do this anymore. Like it's like my body's like so exhausted, and I just felt like I was broken down. And if like I also had this like feeling like if I slowed down, I'm gonna lose everything. Like everything's gonna fall apart. Which is funny because like somebody said this during one of the classes like recently, and it was just a stark reminder. Like we all feel like we have to do everything. Like we can't slow down. We have to be everything, do everything for everyone, right? And if we just take some time off, take a day off, right? Like everything's going to crumble. So that was my body screaming at me for rest, while my ego's trying to tell me, like if you stop, they'll think you don't care, or like they won't like you, or you're gonna lose your momentum, or you're gonna fail, like. And that's kind of the point. I knew, like I wasn't being authentic to myself. I wasn't being authentic. I was just being accommodating to others. And so I started to ask, why do I need to be the peacekeeper, the fixer, the people pleaser, the safe one for everyone else? And so this is, that kind of led me into shadow work. So, like when it comes to authenticity, a lot of people talk about it being, like they mean it being real, right? Like, and sometimes I feel like people take that, being real to like as an excuse to, speak their mind and say really rude things, right? And it isn't just like, raw transparency or saying, whatever thing comes to your mind, no matter how abrasive it is. It's, it's when your inner world and your outer world finally stop arguing with each other. And, it's not like authenticity is not like performing, right? It's more of a reunion with the parts of yourself that you buried to like stay loved or safe or successful or accepted. And again, that's where shadow work comes in. The shadow is everything you learned to hide because you didn't feel accepted. So that could be like anger, it could be envy, it could be feeling like you're selfish or craving attention, or fear of failure. Or maybe it's guilt around desires, like sex was, taboo, right? Like, or even grief that just didn't have a place to land. So the problem is denying those pieces does not dissolve them. Like it actually kind of amplifies it in disguise. So they leak through, and that's, that why we develop these things to, you could say like manipulate, or you wear a mask, or you form this like identity as like this, the people pleasing, perfectionism, overgiving, or even like self-sabotage. So authenticity, it requires meeting your shadow without judgment And it's not to fix it, but to actually understand its role. And, like we are, the goal is to embrace all sides of ourselves, the light and the dark, and to understand it. So when we're seeking to understand the role of the shadow, like, example, if you were rewarded for being like the easy one, the good girl, like your shadow might actually hold suppressed anger. The part of you that really wanted to say no to things, but you felt obligated to, like you had to. If you grew up in like a chaotic household, your shadow may actually contain things like control freak. So it's the part of you that was terrified that things that are easy equals danger. Or if love was conditional, like you might hide your ambition or your sensuality because those traits like might have cost you connection in the past. So every time you start to reclaim like a disowned part of you, you're starting to expand your capacity, your willingness to integrate them, your capacity for truth. So the more parts that you accept, the less energy you leak out, the less energy you waste, in performance mode, right? Like that reclaimed energy, it starts to become peace. And so true authenticity, like it feels less like the, loud confidence and more like, just being like a quiet, like congruence or alignment, right? Like it's the wholeness that says I am both, tender and I'm fierce. I am both generous and I have boundaries. I am both light and shadow, and it all belongs here, right? Like, so if you want to explore this, like practically speaking, if you want to explore this, like notice where you judge others. Like the biggest things like you judge others for, or things that you absolutely are like, that is not me at all. Fucking Donald Trump, think about that. Hitler, those kinds of things. Fucking Epstein files right now, like it's everywhere. Notice when you overreact or shut down. That's often like the shadow talking or knocking. Ask, what part of me am I disowning right now? Like the happiness, the creativity, the dancer, the performer, like the free spirit, right? Breathe into this. Like you don't have to fix it. Like curiosity actually integrates faster than any critique can. And write out a dialogue with that part. Like let it speak. Maybe you might be shocked at the wisdom of this part. Authenticity really, it's about courage. The courage to be fully seen first by you yourself, including all the messy, inconvenient, complicated sides of you, and sit with them. When you sit with them, then others' opinions, they're not so big anymore. Like they lose their grip. So, your shadow, and again, we'll probably talk about this more next week, but your shadow isn't your enemy. Like it's kind of like your guidance back to like the whole you, your wholeness. So when it comes to shadow-ish, like, or authenticity, authenticity is not like a vibe, right? Or an aesthetic. Like it's like self-trust. It's self-trust made visible. And so it's keeping the promises to yourself, same way you keep the promises for everyone else. So maybe ask yourself this week, like, where am I putting others above me? Where am I overgiving? What's my body actually trying to say about it? Maybe somebody asks you to do something and your immediate reaction is like, no. And then you're like, oh, well, I should, because like last time I told them no, and like, they did this thing for me. Where is your body trying to say no? And so if it's in your work, maybe it's in your calendar or your relationships, like, what would it look like to keep your word to yourself first? Because really the most powerful version of authenticity, it's not loud or performative. Again, it's, the calm, the inner knowing, like the coming into alignment, the coherence. Like, it's boundaries spoken kindly, like, not just like, no, screw you. Like, actually, like, saying, I love you, and also, I can't. And again, I've talked about this before, but no is a complete answer. You do not have to explain yourself away. So, that's how your energy starts to become congruent again. When your actions match your truth. And so authenticity is not something that you post. It's something your nervous system feels when relief finally replaces resentment. So take a breath, check in with your body. Remember, the world doesn't always need the overextended version of you. It needs the honest one, the one that their cup is filled first. Because how you show up to the outside world, like how you show up to yourself is going to reflect on the outside world. And people, I will say, like, people that are used to you overgiving, or used to, the way that you might have treated them or yourself in the past, like, they might have something to say about it when you suddenly have boundaries, and that's normal. That is totally normal. But, like, you train them to treat you that way in the past. You can train them to treat you a different way. So, yeah. As I don't know how noisy y'all can hear it is with all the machines and stuff running outside. Hopefully it came across okay, and it wasn't too annoying or distracting. But I appreciate you guys for joining me here. I cannot see the comments or the likes ever when they come in, but I do appreciate, even if you're watching the replay, and the ones that catch me live, I appreciate you too. That being said, I do have the breath code replays that are up until next Friday, so you have about a week and 2 days left for those recordings. I actually did make a decision a couple days ago that I was going to do another breath code event, because I'm not wanting to start the next cohort of the Soul Shift Facilitator program. I'm not wanting to start it until April now, I think, because I got the message that we should not start right before our eclipse. And this is supposed to be a big eclipse, and and we're going into like the year of the fire horse in a few days, and so there's a lot of things that are kind of kicked up right now, and keeping true to my authenticity here and myself. Energetically, I feel a little bleh right now with everything going on, so I don't want to start a new class when I'm feeling bleh. So that being said, we're going to start the next class in April, so expect another breath code events to be coming out in the next 3 weeks or so. So I'm probably going to do it the first week of March, so be on the lookout. We'll get everybody signed up for that, and of course we'll end it all again with another Healing Day class. The feedback I got from the last one, the Healing Day class, was really awesome, and they really enjoyed it. And it was kind of hard to go from the breath codes take a break for an hour and then come back for the healing day class. So we're going to do it a little different. We're going to do it how we did in the past, where the healing day class is on a different day than the Breath Code 3-day event. So be on the lookout for all of that. I will post things inside of this group, and you will also be emailed about it so that you are in the know. And we will see you guys then. I love you. Have an amazing week. And excuse my noise. Bye now.